Welcome to the Social Mission Revolution.
Each week we explore some of the greatest undertold stories of businesses and everyday people who are making their ultimate impact on the world through social mission. This is Social Mission Revolution,
And this is your host, Andrea Putting. Welcome again to another episode of the Social Mission Revolution. Today I am speaking with Brooke Walker, and I have been scouring her website to see some amazing things, and I'd like to welcome her and she can tell you all about what she does. So welcome, Brooke. It's lovely to have you with us.
Hi, Andrea. Thank you. Yeah, lovely to be on here as well. Thank you for asking me to speak today. So as you mentioned, I'm an artist, I'm an oil painter, and my works hope to give a voice to the voiceless. So by that I mean animals and wildlife, or domestic animals, the environment as well, or the people who inspire me, who are doing great things in terms of conservation and wildlife awareness and things like that as well. So that's really what my business, my social mission isn't just a side venture of my business. It is the reason that I create the works that I do.
Yeah, that's really quite powerful work that you're doing, because I looked at your website and your work is just absolutely beautiful and really spoke to me about what it is, the message that you're trying to portray. So that's fabulous.
Yeah, so for me, capturing empathy and emotion in my work is very important, and I found for some reason that's something that I can do with my artwork, because I feel that, you know, if you see something and you feel something for it, you can empathize over what's happening within the image that you see, then you're more likely to want to, one, think about it, and two, possibly make a change for the better. You know, that the image is such a powerful way to get a message through. You know, it transcends all language barriers and cultural barriers and things like that, like nothing else. I don't think there is anything else that can do that as well.
Yeah. So, and looking at the face of an animal captured like that just brings it to life and says that it's not some inanimate thing.
Object, yeah.
It's a being with real life, real meaning, real emotions that we can connect with.
Yeah, and I think that's, if you viewers go and see my artwork, I create in a very hyper-realistic or representational sort of way. If I got $1 for every time someone said that looked like a photo, I would be very, very rich. But I think it pushes past photography. Well, I hope it does. I think that I can capture almost that realness with, you know, a painting might take me anywhere from 50 hours to 300 hours to do, depending on the size. So you've got all of my thoughts and emotions and things that go into this work while I'm creating it, and, you know, the things that I'm listening to, whether it might be other conservation bits and pieces, things I'm thinking about, just the things that I think that the animal was feeling at the time while I'm painting them.
Yeah,
that all gets put into this work, which because of photography and how fast that is, I don't think it quite has that same feeling.
Yeah, so instead of a second, a microsecond, it's a whole gamut of story and emotion that you're capturing into that.
Yeah, into that piece. And I feel like it does come through my work. I'm quite an introvert, I suppose. I'm not outwardly emotional person, but I can get my feelings into my work, and then they can be felt by the people that view them, especially viewed in the same room, one-to-one, not so much over the web, which is a bit trickier, but
Yeah. I know that from when you go to a gallery and you see, what's coming into mind is when I walked into a art gallery in London and saw Van Gogh paints live for the first time, that I'd seen in pictures for all my life, and then suddenly you see this painting and it has a whole new dimension to it. So I imagine it's exactly the same with your work.
Yeah, I had a similar experience in I think it's the National Gallery in London. They have the Whistle Jacket, which is a big horse painting by George Stubb, who was one of my most favourite painters. He was the wildlife painter of the 18th century or 19th century. And that painting is so huge and so powerful that, very similar emotion for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. So I've got to ask you, my one question that I ask everybody is, if there was one thing, just one thing, that you could fight for, what would that be?
I think it would be helping people see animals for the animal. So understanding that animals are their own being, that they're not any different from you and I, really, in terms of sentience. They feel, they see, they react. Just because they are different to us, they have different emotions to us, and they react to things differently than we do, it doesn't mean that they're lesser than humans. I think there are some things that animals can do that we can't. You take the pigeon even. Pigeons are not necessarily beloved by a lot of people, but they have this ability, this homing ability that we don't have. If we got taken out somewhere and left there, we wouldn't know how to find our way home without a map.
Yeah.
But they have this inbuilt ability, and dolphins, they have their echolocation and sonar. Bats have sonar. All of these things that we don't have that they do, and I really think that there's probably hundreds of other abilities that they have but we don't understand. So I think really getting people to understand that humans are not the superior thing on the planet. We all have our abilities, and they all need to be celebrated and really appreciated, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's something that a lot of people are very connected to at this time. And certainly, as someone who's always had animals in my life, that I understand exactly what you're saying, because you just see that personality in your pets and in animals who are normally wild. When they're domesticated, you see, and you live with them, you see that personality shining through them in different ways. So
that's the thing, and I think people forget that these domesticated animals were once wild. So there's no reason that the feelings that you see in your dog or your cat, that a kangaroo or something living in the wild doesn't have those same thoughts as well. So really, I think it's just a matter of respect and understanding for all walks of life, really.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'd like to know, is there something that really inspired you along this pathway? Something that really made you get involved with this?
Yeah, so I grew up on a 10-acre property in McLaren Vale in South Australia, and so I, from a young age, was surrounded by all kinds of animals. So I started with a rabbit, and then dogs and cats, guinea pigs. I had ponies, horses, turtles, all sorts, chickens. And then there was also the native wildlife that would come by too. So, kangaroos and McLaren Vale being a wine region, it's still got open space and, kangaroos and stuff love to eat the grass and the grapes and things like that.
There's a lot of wildlife around in the McLaren Vale.
Yeah. So, my parents are definitely animal lovers too. So if we found a bird that had fallen out of a tree or something like that, we'd take it up to the house and nurse it back to health and hopefully allow it to be released back into the wild. So I always had that notion of caring for everything. Everything had a purpose and a place, and it deserved to live. So then, as I grew older, I started to notice a bit of a disconnect when I went, as you do when you get older, you get a job and meet more people and different kind of life. I noticed there was a disconnect between what I knew about animals and the greater public, what they would do. And, it's so easy for someone to walk into a supermarket and grab a packet of sausages, but not really think about where that sausage had come from. Mm-hmm. So I wanted to, I didn't understand this, and I wanted to try and understand why people felt like this, and also maybe do something that could change their thoughts and to help these creatures that I love so much. So being an arty kid and always having a natural talent towards the arts, I decided to use that skill that I had and create works that really spoke about my values and morals that I live for my own life. So yeah, it's been a continuous sort of growth. It's the way that I live my life as well. So I try and be vegan where I can. I try and live as sustainably as I can, and encourage people to do the same. So whether it's just switching out a plastic water bottle for a metal one like this, or
like this
putting
yeah,
that's right. Taking a keep cup to a coffee shop, or saying no to a straw or something like that. Just these tiny little things individually, they don't really take much effort from you, but in the scheme of things, if everyone didn't use a straw every day, how many millions or billions of straws would that be that wouldn't end up in landfill or in our oceans? So that it's a slow burn for sure, and the message is getting out there more and more and more.
It is,
and it's definitely an individual effort, but a collective one at the same time. Just encouraging people, really. So back again to inspiration. My biggest inspiration as an adult has been Jane Goodall.
Yeah.
So Jane Goodall is the lady who went and pretty much lived with the chimps for about 6 years in Gombe when she was 26 in the 1960s, which obviously at that time is not something that a woman would be thought of doing. But she did it, and she's such a such a trailblazer. And earlier this year she did a talk around Australia, and I got to meet her, and I actually gifted her a chimp painting of mine. And just to hear her speak about how she travels, she's 85 and she travels 300 days a year to talk to people about conservation and what they can do. And her message is definitely one for hope, and that's what I like as well. I think that it's so easy to get on the negative of all this environmental stuff and think that there's nothing we can do and all that sort of thing, but her her way, she likes to tell story and talk about the animals and their personalities. And I think that way of getting the message across is much more beneficial than, say, protests or beatings, beating someone over the head with it, where they just sort of shut down and don't want to change.
Yeah, you've got to connect with people on that emotional level.
Yeah,
for that,
and I think she does that. Yeah, she does that brilliantly, and that's something that I strive to do too with my work when I talk to people too.
Yeah. So you also donate a certain part of your takings, your sales from paintings. Where does that go to?
Yep. So, I donate part proceeds to different conservation groups. So normally it depends on what the painting was of.
Yep.
So recently I did some endangered bird paintings. So the proceeds, part proceeds from that went to BirdLife Australia.
Lovely.
Who are doing some great things in helping endangered species that way. Sometimes earlier this year as well, I donated a piece to the Australian Rhino Project.
Yep.
So they are bringing, I think it's about 45 rhinoceros from South Africa to Australia to set up a herd in Monado Zoo. So a bit of a safeguard
safe place for
zoo.
them to be.
Yeah, against because they're not really sure whether or not there will still be a viable herd in South Africa with the way that poaching and things are going. So I donated this rhino piece for them to auction off. I think it made about $700 or $800, which was nice.
Nice. Lovely.
Yeah, towards them. I try and pick. I'm very picky with the charities that I support.
Yeah.
I always go through their annual reports and see how much money actually gets donated back to the projects that they're supporting, so that I know that the people that have bought my work and the follow on from that, it's doing the most help it can.
Yeah, and I think that's always good advice to anybody when you're choosing a charity to align yourself with, is to make sure that the money that you do donate is going to do the work that you want it to be doing.
Thank you. Yeah, and that's the thing. You do have to be careful, because some of the charities, they put all their money into the marketing campaigns, and that's why you know about them. But they not as much actually goes back into the work that they supposedly do. Yeah.
Very good. So would you have any other advice for anyone who was thinking about, how can I incorporate social mission into what I do? Is there anything that you can suggest to them?
Yeah, I definitely think follow your passion. So obviously, if you're not an animal person, there's probably no point putting that sort of stuff into your business. But
you've got to find what speaks to you.
Yeah, that's it. So that's what speaks to me, and I think it's about just doing things that you can manage. As I say, pick something. You don't have to do everything. I think sometimes people think that they have to do everything and be conscious of everything, but just do what you can do, and doing something small, like I said, just switching out your water bottle or something like that, or picking meat to do meat-free Mondays, make recipes for meat-free Monday or something. Those small little steps really help in the long term. I think it's not, for me, it's a long-term goal. It's not a short-term sort of solution. So something that you can be sustainable for your business, for sure. Yeah,
sustainable's important. And taking it step by step, not having to see that I have to solve every problem in the world right here, right now. I can just do a small step.
a little bit at a time.
Yeah. Yeah, that's some
Yeah.
fabulous advice for us. So if you would like people to see your paintings, where can they see them?
Sure. So I have my website, which is www.brookewalker.com.au. Most of them are up there. I try and update it as much as I can, being a sort of my own boss and everything else that happens. I do everything myself. So it's always tricky to get around to updating everything at once, but I do my best. And I also have Instagram, which I am at Brooke Walker Art, and Facebook too. You can find me at Brooke Walker Art as well on there. Anyone that's in South Australia, I have a studio down at the Fleurieu Art House, which is in McLaren Vale, part of Hardy's Winery. And I'm actually having a solo show there, which opens on the 31st of August. So this show is the first one I've done in terms of with oil painting. It's centered around the human-animal relationship and how it relates to horses. So as I mentioned, I grew up with horses, and I think that horses are one of the animals that is utilised to the extreme by humans. So they've been used for agriculture, entertainment, sport, meat, pretty much anything that you can think of. A horse has played a part in it, building our cities even. So I'm really trying to bring awareness to what, people have used them for, but also show their strength and resilience as well. So I think, it's an interesting exhibition and a concept that's definitely close to my heart. So I encourage everyone, if you can come down to, have a look. 31st of August, 2 till 4 is the opening, but it's open through all of September.
Lovely.
Down there.
Yeah. And I'm sure that it'll be a great display to see. I would love to be able to see that. I don't think I'll be in Adelaide at that time at this moment, but who knows? It's always possible.
Okay. Yeah. We'd love to see you there. Yep.
Yeah. So is there anything else you'd like to share with us, Brooke, about people getting in touch with you or whatever you'd like to share along those lines?
Yeah, no. I just want to thank everyone for listening, and definitely reach out if you want to have a chat about anything, art related, animal related, anything really. I'm more than willing to talk to you. I like to have sort of one-on-one conversations with people, and especially like-minded people, and even people that are just a little bit interested. Definitely, please reach out, and if you need any help, any tips on what you can do to play your part in terms of conservation, I'm happy to suggest a few things too. So.
Wonderful. So if you need some help need a bit of inspiration on getting into conservation, Brooke must be the person to talk to. That's great. And I also see, while I think of it, I saw on your website that you also do paintings of pets if people are interested in having a painting of their pet done, which would be an amazing legacy to hold on to with your pets.
That's it. So pet portraits is a big part of my my business. I think, me thinking that there's no difference between animals and humans, so why can't an animal have its own portrait, like a Rembrandt or something? So I really enjoy doing them, getting the emotion and creating something special for the owner, whether or not the animal is still alive or if it's a memorial piece too. It's a very special thing to have.
Yeah, it would be, certainly. be lovely to have that.
And they're quite interesting too that I get more pet portrait commissions than I do of children or baby commissions. So that might be something as well.
That is an interesting thing. Yeah. Well, I'd like to thank you, Brooke. It's been lovely talking to you and hearing about your work and your passions. And I really urge anyone listening to have a look at your website and just really take some time looking at your work, because it really is beautiful and it really does bring the animals to life. And I really appreciate what you're doing.
Thank you, Andrea. Yeah, I really appreciate our chat too.
And that's another episode of the Social Mission Revolution, and I'll be back next week with another Social Mission Revolutionist. This has been the Social Mission Revolution with Andrea Putting. Join me again next week when we'll speak to another social mission revolutionist who will inspire you on your journey to making your ultimate impact on the world.